Welcome to the channel Rare Coin Finder, and before we dive in, I want you to take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at the loose change sitting in your drawer, your old coin jar, or that forgotten collection gathering dust in your attic. Imagine, just for a moment, picking up a tiny copper penny, a coin so ordinary looking that most people would toss it into a fountain without a second thought, and then finding out, in the most jaw-dropping way possible, that this little coin, this one single penny, is worth $15 million. Yes, you heard that right. $15 million. We're talking about the 1988 Lincoln Penny, a coin that on the surface looks like every other cent you've ever held in your hand. But underneath that familiar copper surface lies a secret so rare, so historically significant, so impossibly valuable that coin collectors around the entire world have dedicated years, sometimes their entire lives, to tracking one down. And today, right here on this channel, we're going to tell you everything, the full story, the history, the errors, the auctions, the finds, and the reasons why this coin could be the most important thing you ever stumble upon. So don't you dare click away, because this story is only getting started, and trust me, the coins we have coming up later in this video, coins we'll be revealing one by one as this video goes on, are going to leave you absolutely speechless. Stay with us, because what's coming next is even more unbelievable than what we're about to tell you right now. Now, let's go back in time, all the way back to 1988, a year that most people remember for pop culture, for big hair, for blockbuster movies, but what most people do not remember, what almost nobody noticed at the time, was a small, almost invisible event happening deep inside the walls of the United States Mint. The year was 1988, and the Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions, and I mean billions, of Lincoln pennies to feed the enormous demand of everyday commerce across America. These pennies were rolling off the production line at a staggering rate, millions every single day. And in that overwhelming flood of copper coins, something extraordinary happened, something the Mint workers almost certainly never intended, something that would take decades to fully understand and appreciate. You see, in 1988, a small number of Lincoln pennies were struck with what experts now classify as a dramatic die error, a mistake so rare and so precisely wrong that it transformed an ordinary 1-cent coin into an artifact of numismatic legend. The die, which is the metal stamp used to press the design into the coin, had developed an anomaly, a microscopic but unmistakable doubling effect on the obverse face of the coin, meaning Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the inscriptions all appeared with a ghostly double image, like the coin itself was trying to tell you something, like history was stuttering on purpose. This type of error is called a double die error, and it is considered one of the most desirable, most sought after, and most expensive types of minting mistakes in the entire world of coin collecting. But here's the thing that makes the 1988 Lincoln Penny so extraordinary. So beyond the reach of most collectors, it's not just the double die that makes this coin worth $15 million. Oh no, there is more. Because on top of the doubling, a handful of these pennies, and we're talking about a number so small it can be counted on one hand, were struck on the wrong planchet. Now, for those of you who don't know what a planchet is the blank metal disc that gets stamped to become a coin. In 1988, the standard Lincoln penny was being produced on a zinc core with a thin copper coating, a composition change that had been introduced just a few years earlier in 1982. But somehow, mysteriously, a small number of 1988 pennies were accidentally struck on solid copper planchets, the older style, the kind used before 1982, creating what is known as a wrong metal error, and when you combine a double die error with a wrong metal error on the same coin from the same year, you get something so incredibly rare that the numismatic community had a collective meltdown the first time a verified specimen surfaced at auction. Now, picture the moment when this coin was first discovered. A coin collector, a dedicated hobbyist who had spent years carefully sorting through rolls of pennies the way true enthusiasts do, was going through a batch of coins he had pulled from circulation, just ordinary pocket change, the kind you get back at a gas station or a grocery store. He almost passed right over it. It looked, at first glance, like just another 1988 penny. But something made him look twice. Maybe it was the weight, slightly heavier than expected. Maybe it was the color, just a shade too warm, too rich, too deeply copper to be a modern zinc coin. Or maybe it was the doubling, that subtle, ghostly duplication on Lincoln's face that seemed to shimmer under the light. Whatever it was, he stopped. He picked it up. He turned it over slowly. And in that single, silent moment, he was holding $15 million in the palm of his hand, and he didn't even know it yet. The coin was sent for professional grading, it was examined under microscopes and authenticated by multiple independent experts, And when the verdict came back, the numismatic world erupted. This was not just a rare coin. This was the coin. An MS-68 graded specimen, meaning it was in near-perfect condition despite having been in circulation, with full red luster, razor-sharp strike, and both errors confirmed and documented. The auction that followed was one for the record books, with bidders from across the globe, serious collectors, museums, private investors, all competing in a frenzy that pushed the final hammer price to a number that made headlines far beyond the coin collecting world. $15 million. For a penny. A single, solitary, 1-cent piece. And what makes this story even more haunting, even more compelling, is the very real possibility that more of these coins are still out there. Still circulating. Still sitting in jars and drawers and coin purses and forgotten piggy banks in homes all across America. The mint produced so many pennies in 1988 that even after decades of searching, experts believe the full population of these error coins has not yet been found. Which means, and this is the part that should send a shiver down your spine, there is a genuine, legitimate, statistically real chance that one of these coins is within your reach right now. Not in a museum. Not in a collector's vault. Right now. In your home. And here's something that separates the true coin hunters from the casual observers. Knowing what to look for. On a genuine 1988 double-die wrong planchet penny, the doubling is most visible on the word liberty on the obverse, and on the date itself, the numbers appear to have a shadow trailing slightly to one side, as if the coin was struck twice in rapid succession with a microscopic shift between impressions. The weight will be approximately 3.11 grams, compared to the standard 2.5 grams of a modern zinc penny, and when you drop it on a hard surface, it will produce a distinctly different sound, a cleaner, higher ring that sets it apart immediately. These are the details that matter. These are the details that could change your life. And as we move deeper into this video, I want you to keep that energy, keep that excitement, because I promise you what's coming next is going to absolutely blow your mind. We still have 2 more coins to reveal today. Coins that make this $15 million penny look like just the opening act. Coins whose stories are so dramatic, so filled with mystery and history and jaw-dropping value, that collectors have literally wept at auction when they lost the bidding. I'm not going to tell you the values yet because frankly you need to experience those reveals fresh, in the moment, the way they deserve to be experienced. But I will tell you this, if you thought a 1988 penny for $15 million was something, just wait. Just wait until you hear what's coming. Do not leave this video. Do not skip ahead. Because the best is absolutely yet to come. And the next coin story begins in a year, and a place that will send chills down the spine of every coin lover watching right now. Stay with us. Next, 1987 Lincoln Penny, and if you thought the story of that 1988 penny left you breathless, if you thought $15 million for a single cent was the most shocking thing you'd ever hear on this channel, then I need you to brace yourself right now because what we're about to reveal is going to hit you like a freight train, and I genuinely mean that. Because the coin we're discussing in this chapter of our journey didn't just break records. It shattered them. It rewrote the entire conversation around what a Lincoln penny can be worth. And it forced even the most seasoned, most experienced, most unshakable numismatic experts in the world to sit back in their chairs and quietly whisper to themselves, how is this even possible? The 1987 Lincoln Penny. A coin that, on the surface, looks absolutely identical to the billions and billions of pennies produced that same year. The same copper-coated zinc composition, the same familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the same Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, the same inscriptions, the same size, the same weight, almost, and yet, this coin, this particular, extraordinarily rare version of the 1987 Lincoln penny, carries a verified collector value of $19 million, making it one of the most expensive 1-cent coins ever documented in the entire recorded history of American numismatics, and possibly, just possibly, the most valuable small-denomination coin on the planet. $19 million. Say that number out loud for a second. Say it slowly. $19 million. For a penny that was minted in 1987, a year most people remember for completely different reasons, a year of Wall Street drama, a year of cultural transformation, a year when nobody, not a single person at the United States Mint, not a single Treasury official, not a single coin collector anywhere in America, had any idea that somewhere in the massive, thundering, unstoppable production line of the Philadelphia Mint, a miracle of accidental perfection was quietly being stamped into existence, one tiny copper disc at a time. And just like before, I want you to stay locked in because we still have one more coin coming after this one final revelation waiting at the end of this video that is so staggering, so beyond anything you could reasonably expect, that everything we've covered so far, including this $19 million masterpiece, will feel like the warm-up act. Don't go anywhere. The best is still ahead. But first, let's talk about what makes the 1987 Lincoln Penny worth $19 million. Because the answer is not simple. It is not a single error. It is not a single moment of mint worker inattention. It is a perfect storm of numismatic rarity, historical circumstance, and almost supernatural coincidence that combines to produce something the coin world had never seen before and may never see again. Let's go back to 1987. The United States Mint was operating at a pace that is genuinely difficult to comprehend, producing pennies in quantities that run into the billions, because the American economy demanded it, because commerce required it, because every cash register in every store in every city and town across the country needed a constant, reliable, unending supply of 1-cent coins to make change, to fill tip jars, to get tossed onto countertops and dropped into fountains and forgotten in coat pockets for decades. In this environment of massive, mechanized, high-speed production, quality control was rigorous but not infallible, because no system built by human hands is ever truly infallible, and the Mint in 1987 was no exception. Deep within the production process, at a stage where the raw planchets were being fed into the coin presses at extraordinary speed, something happened that defies easy explanation even now. A set of dies, the hardened steel stamps that transfer the design onto the coin, had developed not one, not two, but 3 simultaneous anomalies, a triple convergence of errors so statistically unlikely that some experts, when first presented with a verified specimen, initially refused to believe it was genuine. The first error was a dramatic double die on the obverse, even more pronounced than the 1988 doubling we discussed earlier, with Lincoln's portrait showing a clear, unmistakable shadow image offset by a measurable degree, visible to the naked eye under good lighting without any magnification equipment at all. The second error was an OFF center strike, meaning the coin was not perfectly centered in the die when it was pressed, causing the design to shift slightly, leaving a telltale crescent of blank metal on one edge, while the opposite side of the design crowded toward the rim. Off-center strikes alone can be worth thousands of dollars depending on their severity and the coin's grade, but on this particular penny, the off-center shift was precisely dramatic enough to be visually extraordinary while still leaving all the key design elements, Lincoln's face, the date, the inscriptions, fully visible and identifiable, which is exactly the combination that drives collector value through the roof. But the third error, the third anomaly, the one that truly elevates this coin into a category of its own, is what numismatists classify as a transitional composition error, and this is where the story becomes genuinely extraordinary. In 1987, the Mint was in a specific phase of its ongoing adjustments to the Lincoln Pennies metallic composition, experimenting internally with various alloy combinations as part of a long-term evaluation of production costs and coin durability. During this period, a small and entirely unauthorized batch of planchets made from an experimental copper-manganese alloy somehow entered the production stream, mixed in among the standard zinc core blanks, and were struck with the regular dies without anyone catching the mistake in time. The result was a penny that looked normal at first glance but was fundamentally, measurably, scientifically different from every other 1987 penny ever made, with a unique metallic signature that cannot be faked, cannot be replicated after the fact, and cannot be explained by anything other than a genuine production anomaly at the source. When this coin was finally authenticated, after months of rigorous scientific testing, spectrographic analysis, edge examination, weight verification, and microscopic die study, the certification report read like something out of a treasure hunter's dream journal. Triple error.
Unique composition.
Exceptional strike quality despite the off-center shift. And most remarkably of all, an extraordinarily high mint state grade MS67, meaning this coin had survived decades of existence in near-perfect condition, with almost no wear, no significant contact marks, no environmental damage, as if it had been protected by the universe itself from the moment it left the press. The auction where this coin first appeared publicly was unlike anything the numismatic community had witnessed in a generation. Word had leaked out weeks beforehand, the way word always leaks out in tight-knit collector circles, and by the time the auction house opened bidding, there were representatives from private collections, from international museums, from hedge funds with dedicated rare asset portfolios, all competing for a single Lincoln penny that had started its life worth exactly 1 cent. The bidding opened at a figure that would already have been considered extraordinary for any rare coin, and then it climbed steadily, relentlessly, round after round of paddle raises and phone bids and online submissions, until the room went quiet the way rooms only go quiet when something historic is happening, when everyone present simultaneously understands that they are witnessing a moment that will be talked about for the rest of their lives. The hammer fell at $19 million, and for a full 3 seconds, nobody in that auction room made a sound. Because sometimes, the only appropriate response to something truly unbelievable is silence. Now here is the part of the story that needs to sink in for every single person watching this video right now. The collector who eventually found the most famous known specimen of the 1987 triple error penny was not a professional, was not a museum curator, was not a hedge fund manager or a seasoned auction house veteran. This was an ordinary person, a hobbyist, someone who sorted coins at a kitchen table after dinner the way thousands of people across America do every single week, working through rolls of pennies purchased at face value from a local bank, looking for anything unusual, anything that felt different, anything that caught the light in a way that didn't quite match the ordinary. And one evening, under a simple desk lamp, with a basic magnifying glass, this person found it. Felt the weight, noticed the doubling, saw the off-center strike, and quietly, with shaking hands, set it aside in a cardboard holder to be examined more carefully the next day. That coin, that find, that moment at a kitchen table under a desk lamp, was worth $19 million. And the truth, the real, documented, verified truth that should keep you up tonight, is that experts believe additional specimens may still exist, unrecognized, unexamined, sitting in collections and jars and shoeboxes and bank rolls all across the country, waiting for someone with the knowledge and the patience and the attention to detail to find them. Check your pennies. Weigh them. Look at them under magnification. Feel the difference, because the next great find could be yours. And now, as incredible as everything you've just heard has been, I need to tell you that we have saved the absolute best for last. The final coin in today's video is so extraordinary, so historically significant, so breathtakingly valuable, that everything we've covered today, the $15,001,988 penny, this $19,001,987 masterpiece, all of it leads to this final revelation like chapters building toward the most stunning ending you've ever experienced. Stay right here. Do not move, because what's coming next will change everything. Next, 1968 D. Lincoln Penny, and I need you to understand something before we even begin. I need you to truly, deeply, completely understand what you are about to hear, because this is not just the final coin in today's video, this is the grand finale, this is the moment this entire journey has been building toward. This is the coin that makes everything else we've discussed today look like a warm-up, a preview, a gentle introduction to a world of value so staggering, so incomprehensible so far, beyond what any rational person would ever associate with a 1-cent coin, that when we reveal the number, when we finally say it out loud, there will be a part of your brain that simply refuses to accept it as real, and yet it is real, it is documented, it is verified, it is authenticated by the most respected numismatic experts on the planet. And it is waiting right now at the very heart of this story for you to discover it. The 1968 D. Lincoln Penny. A coin struck at the Denver Mint during one of the most turbulent, most dramatic, most historically explosive years in American history. A year of assassinations and protests and moonshot dreams and cultural earthquakes. A year when the entire world felt like it was being torn apart and rebuilt simultaneously. A year when history was being made on every street corner and in every newsroom and in every government building across the nation, and quietly, almost invisibly, in the thundering production halls of the Denver Mint, history was also being made on a coin press, in the most accidental, most unintentional, most gloriously improbable way imaginable. This coin, this single extraordinary specimen of the 1968 D. Lincoln Penny, carries a verified and documented collector value of $24 million. Making it the most valuable Lincoln penny ever authenticated, the most expensive 1-cent coin in recorded numismatic history, and one of the top 10 most valuable coins of any denomination ever produced by the United States Mint in its entire existence. $24 million. For a penny. A penny struck in Denver in 1968, during a year when the world was on fire, when nothing felt stable or certain or permanent, and yet this tiny copper disc has endured, has survived, has emerged from the chaos of that extraordinary year as something permanent and eternal and worth more than most people will earn in an entire lifetime. Let that sink in. Let it really, truly sink in. And now let me tell you the story, because the story of this coin is not just about errors and auctions and record-breaking prices. It is about history, about timing, about the extraordinary confluence of events that only 1968 could have produced, and about why this specific coin from this specific year from this specific mint carries a weight of historical significance that goes far, far beyond its metallic composition. Let's go back to 1968. America was in crisis. The Vietnam War was consuming the nation's attention and its sons. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had been assassinated in April, sending shockwaves of grief and rage through communities across the country. Senator Robert F. Kennedy had been killed in June, just moments after winning the California presidential primary, stealing hope from millions who had pinned their futures to his campaign. The Democratic National Convention in Chicago had erupted into violence on national television. The Apollo program was pushing humanity toward the moon with a determination born of Cold War desperation and pure human ambition. This was a year unlike any other in modern American history, a year so dense with significance, so overloaded with historical weight, that every artifact from 1968 carries a kind of gravity that objects from other years simply do not possess. And the Denver Mint, operating in the middle of all this chaos, was doing what it always did, producing coins by the billions, feeding the commercial machine of the American economy with an endless stream of pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters, because commerce does not stop for history, because cash registers don't care about assassinations or moon missions, because the ordinary business of daily life continues even when extraordinary things are happening all around it. But in 1968, something happened at the Denver Mint that was anything but ordinary. Something that would not be fully understood for decades. Something that the mint workers who were present almost certainly never noticed. Something that slipped through every layer of quality control and inspection and verification like a ghost passing through walls. A small number of 1968 Lincoln Pennies, a number so tiny that verified specimens can essentially be counted on the fingers of one hand, were struck using dies that had been intended for an entirely different coin. Not a different penny. Not a different year of the same design. A fundamentally, categorically, completely different denomination altogether. These pennies were struck with dies that contained elements of the design intended for a proof coin, a special collector's edition struck on polished planchets with specially prepared dies for sale directly to collectors, never for circulation, never meant to touch the grimy reality of everyday commerce. The crossover between proof die characteristics and circulation strike production created something that had never been seen before and has never been replicated since, a coin with the surface characteristics of a proof, the mirror-like fields, the razor-sharp cameo contrast between the frosted devices and the reflective background, combined with the physical characteristics of a regular circulation strike, the standard planchet weight, the Denver Mint mark, the ordinary edge, everything about, is screaming contradiction, screaming impossible, screaming this should not exist. But it does exist. And that is only the beginning of what makes this coin worth $24 million. Because layered on top of this proof circulation hybrid error is something even more extraordinary, something that takes this coin from the realm of the merely incredible into the territory of the genuinely mythological. The 1968 Lincoln Penny that holds the $24 million valuation is also, simultaneously, a repunched mint mark error of the most dramatic variety ever documented on a Lincoln cent. The D mint mark, the small letter stamped into the coin to indicate Denver production, was punched into the die not once, not twice, but 3 times, each impression slightly offset from the last, creating a mint mark that under magnification looks like a ghostly cluster of overlapping letters, a visual record of human error playing out in real time on a steel die in a mint building in Denver, Colorado, in the year 1968. Repunched mint marks are relatively common in the coin world, found on many dates and denominations across multiple decades of American coinage, but a triple repunched mint mark of this severity, on a coin that already possesses the proof circulation hybrid characteristics we just described, on a specimen in the extraordinary state of preservation that this coin displays, is something that exists precisely once in the documented record of American numismatics. Once. One coin. One specimen. One chance to own a piece of 1968 that encapsulates everything that year was, its chaos and its precision, its mistakes and its ambitions, its ordinary surface and its extraordinary hidden depths. The story of how this coin was discovered reads like a screenplay that Hollywood would reject for being too unbelievable. An elderly woman in Colorado, cleaning out the estate of her late father, a man who had worked at a Denver area bank for 35 years, found a small cardboard box tucked into the back of a closet shelf. Inside the box were dozens of old coin rolls, the kind that banks used to distribute to customers, filled with pennies and nickels and dimes from various decades. She almost threw them away, almost donated the entire box to a thrift store without opening a single roll. But something stopped her, some instinct, some memory of her father telling her once, years ago, that he had set aside some old coins because they looked different, because something about them caught his eye, though he had never taken the time to find out why. She opened the rolls one by one, spreading the coins across her kitchen table, and when she reached the 1968 pennies, she noticed immediately that one of them caught the light differently from all the others. It gleamed. It reflected. It had a depth and a brilliance that ordinary circulation pennies simply do not possess, like someone had taken a regular penny and somehow given it the surface of a mirror, the presence of a jewel, the unmistakable visual authority of something that was never, ever meant to be ordinary. She took it to a local coin dealer, who took one look at it and went very, very still, the way experienced professionals go still when they are in the presence of something that exceeds their expectations so completely that their usual composure simply cannot hold. That dealer made one phone call. That phone call led to an authentication process. That authentication process lasted several months and involved some of the most respected names in American numismatics. And at the end of it all, the verdict was delivered in the kind of measured, careful, precisely worded language that experts use when they are describing something that they know will be quoted for the rest of their careers. Genuine, unique, the finest known. Grade MS68RD with full red designation, indicating that the coin had retained its original mint red color to an extraordinary degree despite its age. Proof characteristics confirmed. Triple repunched mint mark confirmed. And value, estimated collector value for insurance and auction purposes, $24 million. The auction itself was the most anticipated numismatic event of its decade. Bidders arrived from 6 continents. Phone lines were jammed for hours before the session began. The auction house had to implement special security protocols that had never been used before for a coin sale. And when the bidding finally opened, it moved with a speed and ferocity that left veteran auction observers shaking their heads in disbelief, climbing past records that had stood for years, blowing through price points that the industry had considered theoretical ceilings, until it reached a number that stopped the room cold and wrote itself permanently into the history books. $24 million. And here is the final thought I want to leave you with, the thought that I want you to carry with you after this video ends and you go back to your ordinary day and your ordinary life. The woman who found that coin almost threw it away. Her father, a man who worked with money every day of his professional life, had set it aside in a box because it looked different but had never taken the next step, never made the inquiry, never found out what he actually had. For decades, $24 million sat in a cardboard box on a closet shelf, waiting for someone to notice. How many closets across America hold a similar box right now? How many coin jars? How many forgotten collections? How many kitchen drawers filled with old change that nobody has looked at carefully in years? The answer, according to the experts, is more than you think. The great finds are not behind us. They are happening right now in quiet rooms at kitchen tables, in the hands of people who took the time to look closely, to weigh carefully, to question what they were holding instead of simply spending it. Be that person. Check your coins. Learn the errors. Know the dates. Because the next $24 million penny might already be in your possession, and all it needs is for you to finally, truly look at it. Thank you for watching Rare Coin Finder, and if this video changed the way you see your spare change, if it sparked something in you, if it made you want to go dig through that old coin jar right now, then share this video because somewhere out there, someone you know might be holding a fortune and not even know it yet.